Hi, this is Lauren with CraftSomeJoy. If you're new here to my channel, I just want to say welcome. And if you are a subscriber, then I want to say thank you. Thanks for being part of my community. I really appreciate your subscription to my YouTube channel. Well, first of all, I just want to say Happy New Year. I'm really excited about this brand new start to the year 2020, and I hope you are too. I have a lot that I would like to accomplish this year, both personally and for my channel, and I'll be sharing a little bit about that in just a bit. But for this first video for the new year, I wanted to share what was new in my craft room. I have some organizational updates and some new favorite things that I want to share with you. The end of the year has always been a super busy time for our family, but it is also a time of reflection and thinking about what's ahead. So for me, I wanted to take some time and really think about 3 questions. First, what is working in my craft room and helping me accomplish all the projects that I have on my to-do list? Second, what is not working and making it more of a challenge or just not making it really easy for me to reach my goals? And third, what is something new that I want to try? And hopefully something that would also help me accomplish my goals and make my crafting projects a little easier. Now, as you can see in this video, I have a limited workspace. And if you've seen my craft room tour, I do have a lot packed into my craft room, but the actual space that I have to do my projects is not that big. And I had so many projects and different things I wanted to accomplish at the end of the year that my craft room became quite a mess. You can see just how piled my workspace is. And I was really overwhelmed. I was jumping from project to project and having to shuffle through mounds of my stuff. And I also took advantage of some great sales at the end of the year and knew that I was going to get a new influx of brand new products and goodies for my craft room. So I knew one thing for sure. I needed to get a handle on where I was going to put my new things, but also just take a minute and reflect back on what I actually had. Because I knew one thing for sure, the more I dug in and handled what I had, the more I really wanted to use it. I didn't want to just have it sitting on my shelves. I wanted it in my albums with my photos so that I could enjoy not only the products, but the memories that went along with all these wonderful photos. I knew it was time to take my organization to the next level and take a good hard look at my craft room and at my own craft stash. And so I decided to start with the hardest question first. What is not working for me in my craft room? So first, what I'd like to do is tell you a little bit about what my stumbling block was or what my problem was, and then what I'm going to try that's new or how I am trying to resolve that issue in my craft room so that I can make some more progress on my projects. So let's get started and take a look at some of these stumbling blocks and also share some fun new organizational ideas. Okay, so what is not working in my craft room? Well, I decided to tackle one of the biggest issues right up front, right at first, and that really is my paper organization. Now, I just have to say, for the most part, I really do like the way I have my paper organized. For me, it works, and I think for each of us, we have to answer the question, how do we scrapbook or how do we work on our projects? And that's key into organizing your stash. And so for me, it really did help to organize my paper in 2 ways, which was by theme and season. So I have all of my seasons and all of my holidays all grouped together. And then I also have some smaller sections of themes like school, vacation, and baby girl, baby boy, toddler, so forth, girl, boy. So those were my big kind of themes. But what I wasn't tackling were these two cubbies that were above my theme section, which I just kind of grouped together and called them palettes. These palettes can also be equated to 12 by 12 paper pads as well. So if you have a palette, this is a Creative Memories palette that was put out a few years back. And then this is a paper pad. But in both cases, what I was finding is that I was grouping things by palette. And you know what? It is fun. It's fun to have everything that goes together and that's coordinated. But what I was realizing is that when I organized this way, that was not in a theme or a season, and it was not in a color category. And so those two things, when I went to reach for my paper stash, that's what I was always thinking about. What theme am I working on, or what season am I working on? Or did I just need a color palette? Was I just needing a group of red that I wanted to play with on my pages or use as a layering piece? And so these types of collections I was just forgetting about. And yes, they were organized and they were put away and everything looked so great on my cubbies, but I wasn't using them. And so I wanted to solve that problem. So again, I had to remind myself, how do I scrapbook? By theme, season, event, or color. And so that's how I needed to organize my paper stash. And so it was kind of a tricky decision for me to make, but I decided I was going to start breaking apart my palettes and reorganizing this stash. And so I needed to figure out how to do that. And one of the things I had been watching several videos about was how to create color bins. And I thought that that was going to be something fun and new that I wanted to try. And I love clear acrylic bins because I love being able to see through the side right here and kind of have that color pop in my craft room. And so I found these fun bins, which I thought were a really nice size to work with. And I decided to start using these color bins in my craft room. Now, this is a brand new thing. I've never tried it before, but I did see some videos. The first time I saw or heard about the idea of separating out by color was at RTS Scrapbooking. And so I appreciate all of Janet's ideas and thoughts on organization. And so I'm just kind of taking that and figuring out how to do that for my own stash. And so how did I go about using the idea of the color bins and breaking apart my palettes? So let's take a look inside here. So this palette consisted of some beautiful, beautiful stickers, and I'm going to talk to you exactly how I'm organizing all of my title stickers because that was another issue for me. So I'm going to come back to that. So this palette has some beautiful paper flowers that are all coordinated with it, and it also has some bling. And so what I ended up doing for these palettes is I ended up taking all of these different embellishment pieces and cutting them apart and then putting them into my color bins. And again, this was kind of tricky for me to do because I do love having everything together and coordinated. And so one of the things I did decide to do was go ahead and keep a few of the embellishments together that I knew I could use as a set. But then I knew also that there were so many of those embellishments that I was able to include them in my color bins as well. And so I would look at the embellishment and for me just kind of go, what color jumps out at me the most? This one I know is kind of a multicolor, but that red really does stand out for me. And I would probably use that as my piece to layer. Like you can see that red really pops out when you put another piece of red behind it. And my bins are categorized into the colors of the rainbow. And then I also included pink, black, white, tan and brown, And then I also have a gold and silver bin. And so that was one of the fun new things I found to help organize my stash in my craft room, were these Deflecto cubes. And as I mentioned, they are clear acrylic, and I do love that they're clear. And I also love that I can just pull out the bin and put that on my workspace, and if I'm working with a particular color or a group of colors, and I can just have those. And then when I'm done, I can just go ahead and put those right back into the cubbies. Now I do have this set sitting just off to the side of my workspace, and I did get 6 of the Deflecto cubes in order to create my color bins. So each cube has 2 drawers, so I have 12 drawers that I could organize all my different colors into. Okay, so now that we've talked about embellishments, let's also take a minute and talk about the paper that are in these packs. And as I'm going through this, I also want you to think about this can work not only for palettes like I have grouped here, but also for paper pads. Because for paper pads, at least for me, this was the same idea. I could flip through this paper pad and go, wow, those are some really beautiful papers, and they are all coordinated. But do I remember that I have this paper pad? And when I answered that question, it was, no, I don't remember specifically that this paper pad has a really great ledger paper, or that this paper pad has a really beautiful red polka dot paper in here, or floral paper, or so on. And so again, I just took that hard look at how I was reaching for my stash and made that decision that I'm going to try something new. Okay, so you can see this palette has some beautiful colors in it. So now what I would do is just go through this palette and go, okay, what are the colors that are jumping out? And again, this is kind of an off-white. This is white. And then look at this gorgeous black dotted Swiss paper. Just gorgeous. And it was just sitting in here for so long. Forgotten about it. So here we go. Here's the green and so on. And as I mentioned, this was a little tricky to go, okay, do I really want to break up this palette? But again, the question I kept coming back to was I remembering to use it? And the answer was no. Now, I just want to mention here that sometimes you'll come across a paper and you'll look at it and you'll go, well, I'm not quite sure where to put that because it has black, it has kind of the off-white or tan, and it has a little bit of red, and it has white. So what do I do with this paper? And not only that, but on the opposite side, it's a whole different color. So there's 2 ways I approach papers like this. First off is, which side do I like the best? Which side do I think I will scrapbook with? And that's the first question I ask, because if there's a paper and I'm not really crazy about one side, but I love the other side, which that is true, I love this green grid, I'm going to organize this into my green patterned paper because I'm much more likely to use this side of the paper than I am this side. Okay, so that's the first question. Which side do you like better? And then go ahead and put that side facing up so that you can see that. And then the second question is, well, this is a tough one because I do like both of these sides, but what is the primary color that pops out when you look at this paper? And for me, the primary color is black. And that is also because the black is kind of put on there with a little bit of a texture. And of course, everybody might have a different spin on that. When you look at this paper, you might go, that to me just looks like a white patterned paper. And that's great. And you have to go with what works for you. So for me, what I would do though, is I would put this into my black patterned paper because for me, as I mentioned, the primary color that pops out is black for me. And that would also work well because the back is also a black patterned paper. So anyhow, sometimes it does get a little tricky when you have patterned paper in palettes or packs or 12 by 12 paper pads. Okay, so I'm going to just take a minute now and go ahead and kind of pull this palette into different categories. Okay, so now that I have this collection kind of organized into the different colors and a few of the patterns, where am I going to put it? That was my big question. So as I mentioned, I have my cubbies that have all of my seasons and events and themes. And to me, none of this really kind of goes into that category. And so I'm going to take a look at this palette and integrate this into my rainbow paper stash. And if you have seen my paper organization video or my craft room tour, you might be aware that one of my favorite products are the Power Palette folders from Creative Memories. I really, really love these pockets. And I don't know that there's anything quite like them out on the market. And so I highly, highly recommend in investing in some of these folders because they really help me keep organized. And I'm going to show you exactly how I use them. So each of these folders has 3 pockets in the front and then 1 large gusset pocket. And then on the back side, there's 2 more long vertical pockets. Okay, so on the front side, what I decided how I was going to organize, and so I have the same system for each of my folders. So the bottom right corner is for any remnant that I have that's a good usable size and a printed. Again, I'm working on the red prints. So anything that is a remnant, a scrap paper, I'm going to just tuck into the bottom right-hand side. And so the bottom left-hand side is for any paper that's large enough that I could mat a 4x6 photo with. And again, I had to go back to how I scrapbook. If I'm reaching for a paper that I can quickly put behind a 4x6 photo to add a mat to, I want to know exactly where that is in my paper stash. And so I have designated any paper that is at least big enough to mat a 4x6 photo. Now, sometimes you end up with a paper that's a little larger than what this is. This is a 4.5 by 6.5. And so that could go into this pocket as well. Anything smaller is going to go over here on the right-hand side. Okay, so that's how I categorized my bottom 2 pockets. These are the printed red mats from the Enchanted collection that I just broke apart. And I'm going to tuck those right into the bottom left-hand side. Now, this long pocket, I decided, is where I'm going to put any of my journaling cards so that I have those also readily accessible when I'm working on a page. I do have another stash of journal cards that are all organized by color category as well, but I did want to include in my folders a place to have some journal cards readily available. So that's what this long pocket is for. So then I'm going to take, and as I mentioned, we're all different on how we look at paper, but for me, this paper right here, this popped out as red to me. That red is what kind of pops when I look at this paper. So I'm going to include this paper in my red printed folder, okay? And that's just going to slide right in. And how I have this folder set up is that I have all my full sheets tucked into the back, and then anything that's not quite a full sheet but is a large sheet, I just tuck that right in the front. So if I need a smaller, like if I'm doing a color block and I just want a smaller piece, I want to look in the front first. And then if I can't find it there, I'm going to look in the back of my folder and get a full sheet. Now, as I mentioned, the back side of this also has 2 long pockets. And these are a perfect place to store any small strips that you might have left over or any border strips. And that was another thing that I had a really hard time finding a place for. And so for me, this really is helpful to have the primary color. Again, you look at a strip and you go, what's the primary color that I see when I look at that strip? And then now I have a place to tuck that in, because my goal is to use what I have and remember what I have. So if I had these tucked away all together in one spot, I would not always remember to look at those. But now that it's organized by color, it's so easy for me to grab a piece and go, wow, that's a great piece I can layer with. And it's all right here, tucked into my folder. And so I organize my solids the exact same way, where I have the bottom pocket is for any kind of a smaller strip, the bottom right-hand pocket. The bottom left-hand pocket is for something that's large enough that I could mat a photo with. Now, again, I could put journal cards here. I don't have any right now in my reds, but I probably will go back and add some just solid red journal cards right here that do not have a pattern on them. And then on the inside is where I have all of my red paper. So I have all the solid full sheets in the back, and then in the front, I have all of my cut but full-length papers. So this is, again, where I'm going to take my red paper, and even though this is embossed, this is still what I consider just a solid paper. And I'm going to include that right in the back of my cut paper and slide it right in. And you can see these pockets hold just a really, really huge amount of paper, just a ton of paper. So I must have, I don't know, 100 sheets of paper in this one pocket. And again, on the back, you have the two long pockets here where you can store your long, thin strips of red. So I do like putting those thinner strips in the back here, because what I noticed is when I have the thin strips in the front, they kind of slide back and forth. And so I do like putting those in the back of my folder, and then that just keeps them tidy and easily accessible. And it has really been great to kind of get into some of these collections that I really haven't looked at for a while, and just go back and appreciate what I have so that I can use that. And I really think that putting them by color is going to help me with my workflow process. Now, I do want to mention here that if you are considering doing this for your paper pads, I know that that might be quite a large undertaking, because I know many of us have a lot of paper pads. But just ask yourself, are you using what you have, and is there a better way to remember what you have? As you're going through and categorizing your paper, just kind of keep in mind, again, the question, how would I reach for my stash? What's the first thing that comes to my mind when I want to find something? And hopefully that will help you get into your stash and start using up what you have. Okay, so paper, that is quite a big category to handle. So I'm going to move on and just talk about a few of the next things that were kind of giving me some hiccups in my crafting process. So next up are embellishments, and I had been storing a lot of my embellishments in these plastic jars, and they look really pretty in my craft room. And there's lots of colors and different things in here, and they sat in my drawers and on my shelves, and I, again, forgot all about them. Whenever I wanted to get into a jar and take a look at what I had, I kind of had to take it and dump it all out and then kind of flip through it all and again see what I had. So I thought once again about the process on how I approach my craft projects and what could make things easier. And so for embellishments, I came back again to my color bins. And so you can see just how easy it is to kind of just go through and pick out different colors for different things. Again, sometimes you have patterns, but you want to look at something as what's the dominant color in that. What would you most likely reach for that? And so for this, again, it would be blue. And so that is going to go into my blue bin. And so you can see this whole process just becomes kind of fun and easy. And you can put on some YouTube videos, or you can put on a favorite show that you want to binge watch, or just some really good music, and just kind of sit here and go through your stash and organize them into colors. So I am so excited about this whole idea of color bins. Now, I also wanted to mention here that I have seen some folks who, instead of using the acrylic bins, have used the iris cases. And you know that this is also one of my favorite storage containers for my craft room. And so this would be another alternative if you didn't want to have a bin. I also just want to mention that if you don't feel like you want to completely break up a collection, that's totally fine too. So what I ended up doing, because I did want to keep some of my collection intact, is that I just ended up pulling out a good majority of the embellishments and adding those to my color drawers. But then you could always leave 1 or 2 pieces as a representation in a jar, and then you still have an item that's pretty to put on display in your craft room, and you still have kind of a compilation of what was in that collection. But I know that I'm going to end up using the same flowers that I put in my pink drawer much more readily than I would ever think to go look in this embellishment jar. So again, you don't always have to do just all or nothing. You can also do both, because it's up to you. It's your craft room, your space, and you have to just think about how you work. So again, just another little note. And that's something I'm trying with my embellishments. Now, I do want to mention here that there are times when you absolutely would want to keep your collections together. And for me, those are the times when I have a theme packet that works together, where I would be building pages or doing a project with all of these different components that were of a common theme. And so that is what is working in my craft room. I did show in another separate video that I use these 12 by 12 record sleeves and the Avery Ultra tabs, and I create these little pockets for smaller collections. So kind of what I've just gone through were some of the larger paper collections that I have that came with embellishments and different things. So again, this is always up to your own interpretation and what you think would work for you. But definitely there are times when you do want to keep your collection together. And so this would be kind of an example of that, where I have, this is a fall and autumn collection that I do want to keep everything contained, so that I have that collection handy and ready for when I'm ready to build those pages. Okay, so let's look into another area where I thought I was organized, but then realized I had a lot of stuff that I had forgotten about. And in my craft room, in one of my cubbies, in my wall of cubbies, I have a bin here, and this one is called Titles in Vellum. Now, I thought I was organized, but really when I started digging into all my different sheets of stickers, I realized that I had just a big mishmash of a bunch of beautiful title stickers that I had just completely forgotten about, and that I really wasn't remembering to use. So I decided that I was going to make kind of a radical change in how I organized my title stickers. And I'm going to show you what I ended up deciding on doing. So again, this is just something new I'm trying, and I'm I am really excited about how this is turning out, and I'm actually really excited about getting started scrapping again so that I can use this system. So another one of my favorites are notebooks. I apologize. I do have kind of a stash of these blue notebooks, and I know they are really difficult to find, if not impossible. But my suggestion is just find a notebook that you really love and buy a bunch of them, because I love using notebooks in my craft room to organize all kinds of different things. And so what I decided to do was create a notebook that was for my titles and title stickers, and also title die cuts, which I'll show you in just a minute. So first of all, I'm going to show you my title sticker pages. Now, again, this is kind of that mindless organizing task. But when I started getting into it, it was actually kind of fun to take all of my different sticker sheets and put them into categories. And so what I found was that with my sticker sheets, I kept coming up with certain phrases and words and themes. And so on each of these sheets, you would have a theme, like say this one. This one is talking about life, and it's talking about children, and it's talking about love. Well, to me, those are three different types of pages that I would be working on. And I wouldn't necessarily remember to look at this strip to find a quote or a sticker that's related to children. So I made that big leap and decided to break apart all of my title sticker strips into categories that I knew when I wanted to find a certain title that I could easily flip to it and find it. So this is kind of the idea. If you have seen my planner sticker organization, it's kind of the same idea, where it does take a little time to get there, but when you're there, it's so easy to flip through. And if there's something about life, now I have all of these different stickers about life. If I want the word cherish, I have that page there. Here's happy, and here's joy. Here's dream and fun. Here's laughter. Here's believe. And so you can see I just went through and kind of created all of these different sheets with the same theme. And so in this process, when I was going through all of my different title strips, I ended up with a lot of these different backing sheets that were extra. And so I ended up just taking, you can see there's kind of the leftover sticker residue here from where they did the die cutting. And so I just pulled that off, and then I had a nice little backing sheet to use for these long 12-inch strips, because at first I thought, oh, I'm going to cut them and then add them to my page sheet. And then I realized that I did want to keep some of these intact. And so these extra sheets ended up being just the perfect place to add those. And then I 3-hole punched them. And yes, they do stick out the top of the binder, but for me, that's okay, because where I have them stored, that's not an issue, that they kind of extend beyond the notebook. So you can see I did go through quite a few different sheets of titles, and it was actually really, really good to get into all the different titles that I had, because a lot of times I would spend time creating a custom title where I could have just used a sticker and kind of put it down, been done, and move on. Now, I also know that it's a lot of fun to create titles, so it really is just kind of what your goals are. If you're trying to get some pages under your belt and kind of get some progress going, this is definitely something that would speed up your process, is to go ahead and just use a sticker title rather than a custom cut title. So I do want to mention that what I used to put all of these stickers on is a heavyweight sticker backing paper, which I found on Amazon. And it is not inexpensive. And so you do have to kind of ask your question, is this a good system for you, and is it worth the investment? So as I got into organizing my stickers this way, I realized that this really was going to help my workflow and help me find what I need so much faster and remember what I have and remember to use what I have. So these sheets are super, super thick and really, really nice. And you can see that once you put the stickers down, you can just lift them right off, and then you can just put them right back down again. Now, one of the things I would recommend is make sure your hands are clean if you're using a really thin sticker like this, or make sure to use your multi-purpose tool, because this is kind of an easy way to get in there and lift up your stickers if you need to pull those off your sheet. So you can see these are, there's no damage to the stickers, even these really thin kind of acetate stickers. And you can just go ahead and put those right back down and reuse it over and over. So for me, these sticker backing papers were worth the investment, as I mentioned, because you can just use it over and over and over again. And the idea is, once I get into my album making process, I'm going to start using this up. I'll have more space. And then if I get new product, I can always add that to these same pages. So currently, this is kind of how I have it set up. Now, if anybody has found another good resource for a nice heavyweight sticker backing paper, please do leave that in the comments, because I would be happy to know about that. But these are 8.5 by 11 size, so they do fit in a notebook. They come unpunched, so I did punch the holes to fit in my notebook. And but they are super sturdy and really a nice heavyweight backing. And I just love being able to kind of flip through and see all of my different title stickers in here. So that's what I've ended up doing. I'm really, really excited about this binder and being able to just grab this whenever I'm ready to add a title or a layer of words onto my pages and projects. So while I have this notebook out, I also want to share with you what else I've included in here in the same category. So again, this is my title binder. So what else I thought would be excellent would be to include my laser cut titles, because again, when I'm looking for a title, I want everything to be in one place. And so I decided to include my laser cut titles in this binder, as well as my vellum titles, which are here. And this is again, just different themes printed onto vellum paper. And this was a Creative Memories product from definitely a few years back. And so those are just categorized in here as well. Now, what I'd like to share, and I'm super excited about these pockets, is this fun new organizing goodie that I found. I love baseball card sleeves, and you can see, if you've seen some of my videos, you know exactly how much I love baseball card sleeves for organizing a number of different things. But what I didn't realize is that there were so many other really cool configurations for these sleeves. And I stumbled upon this Ultra Pro Coupon Saver Starter Pack. Of all things, for organizing coupons. Well, let me tell you, I have found so many uses for these different sleeves. Now, you can get all these different ones also available separately, but this pack of 40 plus one was, I think, around $6 or $7, and it has just been the best, because you get kind of a variety of all these different pockets, and then you can see what works best for different things you want to organize in your craft room. So in fact, I'm going to take a closer look with you right now and show you how I've used some of the different sleeves. So this is one of the setups, and you know, normally baseball card sleeves kind of come in thirds, and you have these little pockets going vertically. This was perfect because these sleeves are actually set up horizontally, and they worked out perfectly for my laser titles. So what I ended up doing was cutting a stack of cards that were just the right size to fit into these sleeves. And so I ended up using both white and gray cardstock, and I just cut a bunch of the different squares to go in here. Now that did a couple things. One is that it let me be able to read the laser cut embellishment very quickly at a glance. And the second thing that happened is that I was able to use the back side. So each sleeve now, instead of just holding the front or one pocket, became double. Okay, so I was able to put a lot of titles just in one page. So that was just a fun little trick for these sleeves. So you can see I ended up putting both the white cardstock with my black laser cut embellishments, and then for my white laser cut embellishments, I used gray cardstock so that that would kind of pop the sentiment much easier to see. So again, I have this just grouped by each embellishment has its own separate pocket. And so I can just flip through here and see what I want to use. And then again, I go right into my stickers. And then back here, this is a different size pocket for the coupons. And these are, I think these were the currency pockets. And so these have 3 pockets for each page. And you can see I organized my Christmas vellum titles into these different pockets. So again, I know if I'm looking for a title for a certain page or a certain project I'm working on, this is the notebook that I go to for my titles. So really, really excited about how that is helping me make some progress on getting organized in my craft room. So while we are talking about stickers, I want to just kind of continue along that thought process and share what I decided to do about, again, kind of this backstock of stickers that I had in my craft room, and especially the really small sticker strips, which I just seem to have an overabundance of. So when I looked at my sticker stash, I again found that there was a lot there that I had totally forgotten about and a lot that I wasn't using. And I actually had a few of you kind of ask, what have you done with kind of your older stash? Because scrapbooking has evolved over the years. And when I started, which, oh gosh, let's see, about 25 years ago now, the products were much different than they are now. And there is definitely a time to purge and get rid of all the things that you know for sure you're not going to use anymore. And that was actually one of the very first things that I did, is that I got a box, and as I was going through my embellishments, going through my paper, and going through my stickers, I had a big donate box ready to go. And so definitely take the time to think about what you want to keep, and is it something that you think you're going to use? And if not, donate it. Okay, so what did I do with all of the stickers that I think I'm going to try to use? Now, again, this is always up for, in a year from now, I may decide that this isn't working and I may not use it. I do encourage you to kind of find a lot of different videos that you can watch on how to organize, and then see what really resonates best with you, because everybody has their own idea and we all have a little bit of a different twist on how we do that. And again, as I mentioned, I have a lot of the creative memory stash, and so I needed to find a way to use that in a way that would help me possibly use some of the products that I still had on hand from many, many years ago. So this sticker binder, of course, there's always going to be those stickers that are multicolor or rainbow. And so I ended up just using those and putting them in the front. And again, this is one of the coupon sleeves that I found, which I absolutely adore, because look at how perfectly these little strips fit in here. Now, I may come back and decide to change my mind on how I'm keeping rainbows, but for now, that's what I'm doing. And then I ended up taking all of those tiny little sticker strips and categorizing them into colors. So I just created sheet upon sheet, and you can group it by different shades in that color or whatever you have. And then I also included a pocket here for the 12-inch stickers. And I ended up finding a sleeve on Amazon again, and I ordered a pack of these, and they were relatively inexpensive, but you can see the sleeves come like this. And so this is actually a 12-inch long sleeve. And so what I was finding is just with a normal page protector, my stickers were kind of just flopping all over and getting dog-eared. And so when I found these, I thought this was going to be perfect. I could just, again, add it right into my binder. And much like the title stickers, they do stick up over the edge. But again, where I'm storing my books, that's not a problem. But this just did add a little layer of protection for those longer strips. So I will have a link for these sleeves. And then what I ended up doing is I just 3-hole punched them and then included these pockets behind each color. So what I ended up finding was that a lot of those little tiny sticker strips, they ended up just kind of bulking up and kind of sitting at the bottom of my drawers. And so being able to have them here as far as in a color category, I really do think I'm going to be able to use those a little better. And if not, I can reassess. And again, these sheets are reusable, but I do like having things kind of organized by color so that I know, along with my color bins, if I want something yellow, I'm working on a page with some yellow embellishments and enhancements. I've got yellow sticker strips, I've got yellow stickers, and then I also have my yellow color bin. So now that's kind of giving me a place to pull from all of these different pieces to create my pages. I did decide that I was going to just try some of all these little tiny stickers to see if I will use them again. And so I ended up creating a binder for themed small stickers as well. Now I do have some of these organized in my drawer by season, but I ended up putting a few of these pages together to see if this is actually going to be helpful for me in my process. So I ended up, here's one, I made a food category, and I made a Halloween category. So I have some fun Halloween stickers there, and a fall category. So I have fall stickers, and then a winter category, and then a Christmas category. And so these were just a lot of kind of leftover sticker strips where maybe I had 1 or 2 different stickers on one strip, and you kind of hate to throw that strip away. So I ended up just taking all that whole stack of all those little miscellaneous little strips and putting them all together on a sheet. And so this is really a great way to go, oh, well, now I know I have 3 nutcrackers, and so that could be a great way to build a little cluster on a page. Instead of going, wow, I have a nutcracker on one strip, so what good is that going to do? So this is just kind of another new way I'm thinking about using my stickers as I've organized. And again, as I mentioned, I'll let you know how that goes. And I may end up adding to this notebook, or I may decide that this is not really working for me. So again, as I always say, it's really up to the way you scrapbook and the way you approach your projects and what works for you. So I want to share just another little tip that I ended up coming up with for these really fun sleeves, these longer plastic sleeves that I found on Amazon. And not only did I put my long dimensional stickers in here for my sticker binder, but I also thought these would be a great way to organize some of my long laser cut embellishments. And you can see in this pack that this is the Maritime pack. And so I wanted to keep all of these together, but you can see they're kind of, these delicate laser cut embellishments are kind of all over the place. And I found it was really difficult to get them in and out of one of these pockets or a sleeve that I have my collections organized in. So what I ended up creating was a little pocket for my laser cut embellishments. And so this pocket is something that I could just slide right into my paper pack, and then this is going to keep my long laser cut or any kind of a delicate embellishment protected. And so how I created this little pocket was pretty simple and straightforward. Each of these sleeves has a little thumb notch, so it's pretty easy to open that right up. And then you want to take a pair of scissors and then just cut a small section of the bottom of the sleeve, just along the bottom. Now you can make this whatever size, whatever width that you would like, this sleeve, whatever width that you would like. But the wider it is, the more chance that they kind of have to flop around. So I ended up finding that about 5 inches was a good width for this pocket for me, for my purpose, for using it for these laser cut embellishments. So anyhow, you can just go ahead and measure and cut the slit to whatever length that you want. And then what you want to do is tuck that sleeve inside. So you can see here's the cut part right here. So I just cut along the bottom there, and then you want to tuck that inside. And this is where you do want to make sure that you're even on your pocket. Now you can use a bone folder or a creaser if you have one of those available, or if not, just use your fingernail because that works too. So once you have that folded in, you're going to just take your scissors and cut away the extra plastic on your pocket. Okay, and then that piece you can just toss. And then what I ended up doing was I decided to go ahead and secure this little section together. And so I just took some double stick tape and cut a section of that off. And then added that right to the edge of my plastic. Now, if you feel better about going down the entire length of your pocket, that's entirely up to you. But for me, I just felt like the top needed to be secured so that I would have a place to slip these in. Okay, so then now you have this nice protective plastic pocket. Now another way that you could also protect these nice laser cut embellishments is to create a 12-inch little file that you could also slip into your collection pack. So that is another option that you can do. And this one I just used a tab punch and created the tab and then just folded a 12 by 12 paper in half. And so then this could go ahead and slip into your collection pack and you can keep things together that way. So that's just another little fun tip on how you can organize and protect your delicate 12-inch borders. Okay, so this next thing that I found was not really working for me was realizing at the end of the year I had a lot of different projects going on, including my December daily pages. And then I would find I had all of this spread out all over my tiny little work table, and then I couldn't do anything else. And so I ended up deciding that I needed kind of a temporary way to capture my projects. And I did find these really cool iris cases, and these are 12 by 12 scrapbook cases. Now, I've been using the larger ones of these in my craft room for years and years to organize different things. But I just recently came across these thinner project cases at Michael's. So this really helped kind of clear the clutter off of my workspace so that I could kind of jump around from project to project. So this is just a great little case to use for your current projects. So as I looked back, I did realize there was a lot in my craft room that I did want to try something new with and make a change and hopefully find something that was going to work better for me. But there were also things that were working, and so I just want to take a quick minute and share those things that I am still really happy with that I am using in my craft room. The first one are the disc-bound organizers, and I have a whole separate video which shares exactly how I have gone about using the disc-bound binding system, and that is working really, really well for me. So when I'm creating content, I have my notebook where I can take notes on all the different things I want to talk to you about in my videos. I'm keeping notes in my album tracker and keeping up with all of my different album projects, and I have one place where I can keep track of all of those thoughts, ideas, and progress. And then I also have my crafting notebook, which is helping me keep organized on all the different craft projects that I want to complete. So these disc-bound binders really have helped my organization process in my craft room. I do want to mention a couple new things that I found in order to help with the disc-bound organizers. And I did a little research and found that there were some other ways to punch besides the Happy Planner punch. Now, I do know that Levenger makes a punch, and also Staples makes a punch. This is called the Arc Punch. Now, I also found on Amazon a handheld punch that punches the mushroom style design that we can use with our discs. And I also found another punch on AliExpress, which is similar to my spiral bound punch, except this punches that same little mushroom shape. So you can see this works just like a border punch, where you line up your paper in here, and then you punch, and then you move your punch over, and then it spaces out your punches that way. Now, just something that I want to point out with all of the different punches is that each one of these punches just slightly differently. And so this is the handheld punch you can see right here, and you can see that the distance here is pretty short. This is the punch that I got from AliExpress, and you can see this creates kind of a longer stem there. And then again, this is the punch from Staples, the Arc Punch, and you can see that the stem here is short. And this one is from the Happy Planner punch, the Create 365 punch, and you can see the stem here is longer. So just be aware that each punch is going to punch a little differently, and that is going to affect how your binder goes together. So if you're working with the Happy Planner system, you may want to stick with the Create 365 punch, because then that stem will have the same distance as all of the Happy Planner products. But I just did want to show that there are some other choices out there, and they all do work with the discs. And so you can see there's discs from the Happy Planner, there's discs from Staples and the Arc system. And then I was also able to find some discs on AliExpress. And these do take a little time to come because they come from China. But I will leave a link for these, and they are really, really inexpensive. And so now I have all of the different ring sizes available and kind of ready to go for whatever kind of a disc organizer that I'm ready to make. Okay, I also wanted to mention another thing that is working, especially now that we're at the beginning of a new year and getting our planners all organized, is my planner sticker organization. And I still just really love this way of organizing my planner stickers so that I have everything ready to go and able to find exactly what I need to put into my planner. And so I did make a couple modifications for my planner stickers, and one is that I used the Avery Ultra tabs, and I found these really cute little smaller ones that had the different colors on them. And so I went ahead and added those directly to my pages for my planner stickers and wrote the different categories of what were in my planner stickers. So you can see, like this one, this has dates, and so I just added dates right there, and then the whole sleeve moves with the Avery Ultra tab. This one's family, this one's remember, and this one's notes, and so on. And so I was just able to stick on the Avery tabs right onto the pages and use those to easily now flip to whichever category I wanted to in my planner sticker binder. So again, with the Avery Ultra tabs, I'm also using my newfound favorite coupon organizers from Ultra Pro, and this is giving me some more flexibility with the different types of pockets on how I can store my planner stickers. So those are two updates that I've been using for my planner stickers. Another tip that is working in my craft room is using the photo folder template and having a stash of these readily available whenever I'm ready to organize and sort my photos. And so if you haven't checked out my photo organization video, make sure you do that, and I go through and explain exactly how to use these photo folders in order to organize your pictures. There's also a free template that you can download so that you can print and fold your own folders right at home. As I close out this video, I also want to share a few of my new favorite things that I have also added to my craft room. For Christmas, one of my wish list items was a new Bluetooth speaker so that I could jam to some tunes while I was working and organizing and having fun in my craft room. And so my husband found this really great speaker. Just as an aside, he always does do his research, and so I know whatever he picks is a great brand. So this is the Ultimate Ears from Mega Boom, and I do really enjoy having my music as I craft. Another item that I have recently come to love is the Posca paint pens, and I have to thank my daughter Audrey for turning me on to these. They are a fantastic paint pen with no smell to them at all, and they create beautiful lettering when you are especially working on a dark surface. And it's always fun to find things that work just perfectly in your craft room, and I found these fun little drawers that fit perfectly on top of the washi tape organizers from Michaels. And I love it when things are exactly the same size and it makes it look all coordinated in your craft room. And again, one of my favorite new items, which I'm using for my color bins, are the Deflecto stackable cubes. These cubes are fantastic because you can configure them in whatever way you like, and they have little clips that hold them together. So I have found a lot of fun things to do with these Deflecto cubes. Also, in one of my cubbies, I had my 8.5 by 11 paper. I love it when you can find a product that is really thick and sturdy and super good quality. So I just wanted to share that I did order a set of these for my 8.5 by 11 paper, and they are all organized by color in these nice thick plastic sleeves. Well, thanks again for joining me, and I look forward to a new year to share some more crafting ideas, scrapbooking ideas, organization ideas, picture ideas, and all of those fun things that we can do in our craft rooms together. So until next time, I hope you take time to craft some joy. Bye for now.